All right, thank you. All right, I'm going to call the village board work session to order on Tuesday, August 19th at 5 p.m. I would ask that Brandy and Reese, no, roll call. And we will continue. The only announcements I have are that there are camera issues going on. So if you're joining us by Zoom, you will be able to see documents, but not pictures of us. So be patient. Know you'll be able to hear and you'll be able to see the documents. And hopefully it'll be fixed soon. The other thing I will note is that Callie won't be with us tonight, but Brandy and Reese will be taking over and keeping us in line. So with that, I will ask that the pledge be led by, oh, wait, no, we'll do that at the regular meeting. I'm sorry. Hold on. We'll move to discussion items and we will start with thank you. That was very efficient. We will start with Chief Lefebvre and his 2026 budget presentation for the DeForest Windsor Fire and EMS Department. Come on up.
All righty, so I'll start off by saying the budget has not been approved by the fire board yet. So this is just a very brief explanation of what we got and what we're looking at in the future. So to start off with, oh yeah. The health of the 25 budget is looking very well. All the budget categories are in or exceeding expectations. Our settlement check from the past billing company has come in and has been placed back into the capital fund per our auditor. And one thing that is very good is our revenues are performing better than projected. With that being said, moving billing companies last year, we now have roughly 320,000 in collections that came out of the old billing company into the cycle, in addition to our normal generating revenue of 25, which are, as of last month, we produced 7% better than budget. Our proposed budget overview for 26 is looking at a 1.9% increase from 25, or roughly $19,324 from the village of DeForest. Most of that is covering standard operational costs within the department, items like rent, fleet, safety testing, and workman's comp, property insurance. Those items went up as they normally do, which is a large portion of where that increase is going. We also were able to make staffing adjustments. We're promoting an EMS chief to a full-time status. We're backfilling the vacant position. So technically we're adding one floating position that we could fill across the board. We're increasing in a small amount the LTE pay to use part-time staff to help backfill any open positions we may have, not only during the day, but in the evening. We're reducing overtime costs by increasing LTA or LTE. And we're looking to support staffing levels that are aligned with projected growth and call volume. So we're looking roughly a 5.46% increase in call volume in 25 over 24. Fires so far this year are up 68%. Ambulance calls are up 4.67%. And our general calls of service, which were problematic last year, have significantly decreased. We're talking in the 70% range. So whether that was system improvements, public education, those kinds of things, those have kind of fallen off. And we're able to actually just do the meat and potatoes calls more this year. We also have in this budget, we have applied for the SAFER grant, which can be up to 4 firefighters / paramedics at the 70-70-30 or 70% first year, 70% second, 30% third, where the government will pay for those positions. Those applications started being rejected this morning, and as of 4:30, we hadn't been rejected yet. But there's a long ways to go. We have the Assistance to Firefighter Grant, which is also in progress, which will help with capital equipment. An additional life pack. We're looking at another cot for the 3rd ambulance and items like fire hose and radios and that normal capital equipment. We also have 2 other smaller grants that are being pursued by our consultant. We're not sure which way those are headed yet, but it will happen before the end of this year. So again, the grants are aiming to offset the staffing and equipment costs. We'll see where we end up there. We've had fairly good luck, just not the last 2 years. Important to note that there are operational needs beyond the budget that will need to be considered with or without Station 2. It's a completely independent items. We have the placement of engines and ambulances. We do have an engine that's overdue for replacement, but we're kind of waiting to see where we fit on the 2nd station. We might be able to adapt the replacement and get a different style of engine for less cost, depending on where it's positioned. Ambulance replacement, we have a new one coming this year. We also have 3 additional ambulances with well over 100,000 miles on them. They're running okay, but that ambulance, once you hit 6 figures on the ambulance, it can be day to day. Staffing increases. We are adding 1 staff this coming budget cycle, looking to continue that growth slow and steady to meet community growth and the rising call volumes. And then our public safety division is also in desperate need of people. Chief Knapp is running, he's running crazy, to be honest with you right now, keeping up with plan reviews, keeping up with inspections. All the construction projects have different inspections at certain times. At some point, we're going to have to add somebody there. There is discussion right now that may or may not be a fire personnel. That technically could be held by a civilian to do some of those day-to-day inspections, but we're not there yet. So summary and key takeaways. Again, 25 budget is stable and performing well. The 26 increase is modest and strategic. Staffing changes support operational efficiency and future readiness. Actively pursuing the grant funding to help with capital and staffing costs. And equipment and staffing needs do remain critical for continued service. The engine we have now was due for replacement 3 years ago, and we paused it, and now construction costs and timelines for new engines are 2 years out. So that's at least 2 years on that capital cost if we started planning now. So there is time to plan items. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Questions? Rebecca and then Bill.
Just a quick question related to the engine replacement. Timeline, are you thinking that it's going to need to be replaced before Station 2 is complete? Or do you think it can be held off until it's complete? And you mentioned something about maybe a different style might be okay, depending. What kind of money are we looking at, and how has that been thought of moving up towards this?
Well, right now, an engine, a fairly run-of-the-mill engine, is about $1 million. We will hold off purchasing. If Station 2 is approved and moves forward, we would wait to see how operations settle down after that station's complete. What we are looking at for that station is what we would consider a quick attack truck, where it handles less water, less people, and it's designed to put the initial attack on while the other fleet shows up. So we would want to wait and see how the operation develops before we purchase another truck. The truck we have would stay in service as a backline fleet. It is operational now, but the fire board set replacement guidelines based on the NFPA standards. So it's running up to its 20-year mark, and sometimes it gets pretty expensive to maintain.
So are we looking at 2 engines?
No.
Replacing the current one and putting another one down there?
Just replacing, the replacement engine would go down there.
Got it.
So we're
Thank you.
replacing one truck.
Can you just also, to add on to her, talk about the time, the lead up time, how long it takes to get an engine?
Oh, it's all of 2 years. From when you sign the document saying this is my design, it's about 2 years out. So ultimately, it's probably a 3-year process, a year to plan and 2 years to build. Yeah, it's a long time. Now, there are some lawsuits at the federal level. They're kind of trying to break up that timeline, but I don't see them benefiting us very well.
Thank you. Bill?
Is this the same engine that you were considering placing or rebuilding?
I don't understand the question.
You were, in the past couple months I've been following, and you were thinking of replacing an engine.
Mhm.
Oh, and then they looked at the cost of rehabbing it.
Yes, we
Is
look
this the same engine you're talking about?
same truck.
I mean, it was half price, and have you gone through that process?
We went
The
through,
cost analysis of, spending 500 grand instead of $1 million?
we looked at the process. The problem with the 500,000 quote is they didn't actually they can't do any pump inspection.
Oh, that's
Same.
right, yeah.
So if they pull the truck apart and go, the pump's bad, well, now we're looking at the cost of a regular truck.
Yeah.
We figured it would probably be best to move towards a longer term, is when or a new truck to get the years of service.
Right, and that truck would stay in back service,
It would be a reserve
backup, yeah.
unless somebody offered a really outstanding used engine price.
Okay. And then fire inspectors, is there a different level
Yes,
certification?
yes.
Where are we at now?
We have 2 inspectors that have been all the way through the process, myself and Chief Knapp. So that would be all the way through the plan review phase, Fire Inspector 2. What he would need, or what we would need, is somebody at the entry level position doing apartment buildings and restaurants and those types of just day-to-day inspections.
Is there different levels from where you're certified?
Yes, there's a Fire Inspector 1 and then there's Fire Inspector 2. So I'm at 2.
Okay,
We would need to backfill to help support him at the entry level 1. So that'd be level 1.
would it be cost effective just to farm or contract out? Is it any analysis done on that to free you up,
I don't,
other people?
I don't do.
Oh.
So it's just Knapp is out. I will sit with him and review plans. Right now, we're using engine companies that go out. So the day crew goes out with NAP and they spread out. We did research a private company to do it. It costs more to bring them in than it would to hire an entry level position. We could bring in somebody like a retired member and they could do it part-time at a far cheaper rate.
But we're able to do it now, or
Yeah, we're maintaining now.
okay,
Things getting left to the
I
wayside.
thought it sounded like we were lagging and, you know, there's a lot going on, I realize. Something like Quick Trip, we're able to inspect that,
We've been out there for full days many, many times.
okay,
Yep,
but we're capable of,
we're more than,
of that, okay. It's not just going into McDonald's and
no,
seeing if their prior filters
that-
have been changed, yeah,
that is part of
right.
the job, but yeah, Knapp has spent, anybody that has worked with Craig to any level knows he's fully qualified and will annoy you to death with the details.
Oh, okay, I learned something, yeah, that we're qualified to do that. We don't have to farm out the
Nope.
big stuff. Good.
So, and that's a service we actually charge for, so it generates revenue. Plan reviews do.
Good, thanks.
Thank you, Bill. Do we have other questions? Bill Chang?
Bill doesn't get to speak.
Thank you. Question in regards to the timing again on the engine, if you're saying that it's 2 to 3 years out, when do you anticipate you would need that? As well need to work backwards on, and when payments are needed to get that order scheduled?
Usually what I would think hypothetically, I would say station 2 would be end of 27. I would not say until the summer, that following summer, would we have a true understanding of whether we can adapt our fleet to a different operation or not. So I wouldn't see that money, that down payment being until somewhere in 28. And that's usually like 10%, if I remember correctly from the last engine. And then the rest would be on delivery, I believe, depending on the vendor.
Other questions? If not, we'll say thank you.
Everybody have a nice night.
All right. You too. Okay, with that, well, we have Chief Olson online, I believe. And we will move to update on previous budget presentation from the police department.
Yeah,
There you
good evening. Hopefully you can all hear me. My Zoom is like shut down and restarted twice on me, so I'm hoping it lasts for a few more minutes. But apologize for not being there in person, trying this vacation thing, but wanted to definitely give you the update that I promised when I did my original budget presentation in July. Right now, the PD budget looks like about a little over a 1% increase. Since the last time we met, the only real changes have been to it. Following the July 20th incident, we started looking at our road flare situation, and we've been converting to the product's called Pilot. It's a sequential road flare, but it's all digital. Some of the chemicals are in traditional road flares. They get messy, and ours are starting to degrade because we truly don't use them as much as we probably could in some situations, but so we're going to hopefully replace those. It's a very minimal exposure to our budget, $4,000 or $5,000 in the grand scheme of things, but it definitely does make the situation better and safer. So that was the only real add to our budget. In the 25 budget, things are still looking good. Overtime is still trending in a positive direction. Our vehicle maintenance and our fuel, those are the big three that we kind of look at. I know you've asked about some of those metrics before. Those are also still trending in a positive direction for 2025. So we should be in a very good place there and give us a better picture to accurately predict for next year. The only other thing, just to update you on budget wise, is the COPS hiring grant that we applied for earlier this year. We still don't have an answer on it, kind of like the fire department. But that hiring grant, if we would get another one, that would give us $125,000 of a new employee for over 3 years. So 125 over 3 years, similar to the last one we had. So usually they say they're going to start notifying in September. Last time they didn't notify us till January, but hopeful that we get another opportunity that obviously would come back to this body to hopefully accept or review the grant opportunity. So that is the budget update I have for all you tonight.
Thank you. Any questions for Chief Olson? You did better than you anticipated on your car settlement?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up in the regular updates, but yep, right now it looks like, and I don't remember the exact number, Callie may have it, but we got over $70,000 from the insurance company. So we're in a
Good.
better place than I thought we would be. And we do have that replacement car already. There was one in stock at Ewald that we were able to obtain from them. So we're working on getting all the components in. Some of that electronics is going to take a little bit, but our vehicle maintenance plan is working really well, and we've made adaptations internally.
Thank you. We appreciate it. All right, well, then we're gonna, are there any other questions? If not, we will move on to updates, and I will start with administrative update, Bill Chang.
So just a quick one, also budget related. I sent you all emails to set up one-on-one meetings this is the initial meeting, so following the presentations, you now have an idea of what some of the priorities are in each of the departments. Some numbers at this time, not all the numbers, but I'd like to get and discuss those priorities with you, not only those, but potentially organization-wide. And then what we'll do is we'll utilize those priorities in our discussions to kind of wind down numbers. And once we get the numbers put out, then we'll set up our second one-on-one meetings to go over those budgets. So if you could let me know what days work best for you over the next 2 weeks, I can get that set up and we'll go from there.
Thank you. All right, finance update, Carol. All right. Police Department, Chief Olson, do you have anything else?
I do, yeah. Just a quick word of thanks to those who were able to make it last week. We officially swore in one of our newer officers, Zach Bliffernick. Zach is on field training right now and doing very, very well. So he had a great turnout. There's probably the most people I've seen at a swearing in. And all the ones we've done, I think there's probably 50 or 55, 60 people there total. And then at that same event, I was able to give out a couple department awards as well for some recent actions taken by members. So thanks to those who were able to be there. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Public service update, Judd?
Hey, everybody. From beautiful Tomahawk, Wisconsin. I'm on vacation, but hoping Greg be able to get back, but I think he's stuck heading back from the American Public Works Association conference on the interstate. So just a couple quick updates. We paved Liberty Land Trail ourselves, also wedged a few areas. Our guys continue to do a great job and save us a tremendous amount of money on paving those trails ourselves. And since we have about 24 miles of trails, Greg and I have been talking about, we probably need to start to plan to do half-mile, quarter-mile segments. If we did half-mile segments, it'd be 48 years to rotate through all of the trails that we have. So we have some that are starting to show some wear and tear, but we'll keep an eye on that as things are moving along. Highway V is going well. They plan on the Main Street intersection closing next week. We told them to close it as quickly as possible, and then they were going to put the binder down, which is the first level of asphalt, and then have it available to reopen for the time being. But it'll probably be closed for 2, maybe 3 weeks. We told them to get it done as quick as we could through that intersection port, but it just is a matter of taking some time. So the Highway 51 lights, they're still having some issues, I think, getting the electricity there for DOT to then test. So the last I knew on Thursday, we had that update was they should be up by the end of August here. Dennis Drive road gravel is going in, so it should be completed by Friday, which means curb and gutter can happen next week. And then final shaping of the road, and a couple weeks after that would be the asphalt pavement. So we're nearing the end of that project, but it's moved along as quickly as we could. So As for the cameras in the room, that's been an ongoing issue. Putting on my IT hat quickly, since last week. I'm not exactly sure what the situation is, but we will, get those, repaired as quickly as we can. I tried to reach out to our, technology company for cameras, Friday, and talked to their sales guy. They're supposed to get in touch. But being out, I don't know if they followed up. So maybe that those cameras have finally passed and it's time to get new ones. So that's my update. Any questions?
I have a couple of questions here for you, Rebecca.
Yeah, just two things. One, good job on Liberty Land path. That I was watching you guys do that. It was really fascinating. But the question I have is related to the storm we just had and what happened on the trail bridge. And
Yep.
I'm assuming that's just a temporary fix that I saw.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
What's
and
the
they maybe
timeline for that?
already, they might have already fixed it. Otherwise it'll be getting repaired as quickly as we can. I'm assuming I was out of town this weekend when it happened, right? We got notification of it Saturday night. Greg and I did. Somebody reported it really late, even though they saw it like way earlier in the day. But nonetheless, Greg, I think probably went out, would be my guess. I didn't confirm with Greg, but he probably was out there Sunday, getting that tree out of there and then repairing the bridge. So, a temporary repair to it. And it was beyond our mission to get it repaired as quickly as we could this week. So,
Well, thanks for getting that taken care of as quickly as you did.
We have Bill and then we have Jan.
Yeah, Joe, just wanted to pass along some positive feedback. I stopped by the Dennis Drive yesterday and happened to talk to a resident, and I asked him if communication and things like that were occurring, and he was very positive, and hats off to you, whoever is communicating and coordinating everything. They realize it's an inconvenience, but they see the rainbow at the end of the storm, and just want to pass that along.
thank you. That's good to hear. It's Greg and Stacy. Greg does a good job, and Stacy. And then we really rely on Eric from Beerbecker and the contractor. We want to make sure they're, in communication with residents so they know what's happening and when each resident could be potentially impacted for the day with water and or sewer connections. So thanks for passing that along. It's nice to hear.
Jan?
I just wanted to go back and ask what was the location of that bridge that was was it damaged or just a tree fell on it?
Tree fell on it, was damaged. It broke through the top part of the rail, and then some of the lower parts. So if you can, I don't know if I'm on camera, if you can see me, but the bridge has rail that kind of veers at 45-degree angles near the top of the railing section. So that was knocked out, and then I think a couple of the slats down was also damaged. So they repaired that. It was just I'm from the camera, I think from the video, the picture I saw, I'm pretty sure it was near Sunnybrook Park, that pedestrian overpass, if I'm not mistaken. So,
Greg, do you have more to add? I see your hand up. Oh, that's the mouse. Oh, okay. This mouse has gotten to be a problem. It looks like a bug and then it looks like a hand. Thank you. All right.
any other questions?
Art, yeah. All right. Thank you,
Thanks.
Judd.
Mhm.
With that, we'll move on to Alex.
I sent out an email just letting you know that Heike, the chamber director, will be retiring at the end of the year. We did meet earlier this morning. I sit on the chamber board as a village representative to start planning the succession. So the chamber is hoping to go out for that position in September and make a hire this fall and have at least a brief transition into next year.
Thank you. Thank you. Callie, are you on?
I am. I just wanted to provide an update. Today was the deadline for nomination paperwork for the upcoming special election, and we received papers from Alicia Williams, along with Stacy Peterson. And with that being said, then we will have a primary election that will be held on September 16th, and the special election will be held on October 14th.
All right. Anything else?
I think that's about it.
Okay. Any questions for Callie while we have her? All right. Then we'll move on to Reese with Recreation and Community Enrichment Update. I love that title.
Perfect. So we had our last night market, last Thursday. We had, over 2,200 people that attended the event that night. We had 7 food trucks and I think a lot of them sold out of, food. So, that's, we'll have to try to see how we can fit even more food trucks in the park for when we do these events next year. But we sent a survey out to, all the vendors, just kind of getting their feedback. And so far, we've received a lot of really positive feedback, and some hopes for us to do maybe 1 or 2 more. We don't want to do it where then it kind of takes away the specialness of the event. So we'll be looking to add those next year. Our final summer series is next Thursday, August 29th. That will be best practice. And then we're buzzing out here. So today was Kids Fest for the farmers market. So it's a fun event. We just did it for the first time last year and brought that back. And then flag football is starting, and we're going to be moving actually all of our travel games to the athletic complex to try to capitalize on the concession stand a little bit for the weekends that we host. And we will end up hosting the end of the season tournament again, where we normally have about, I think last year we had 39 teams that were here for that. So I'm not sure exactly where it will fall for how many teams this year, but that will be the end of October when we host that.
When is the last farmer's market? How long does it go?
I believe it's October 20th. It's whatever that Tuesday is. Let's see. October 21st.
Okay, great. Thanks. That was a question I got today. I had no idea.
And that's we do that as a pumpkin night, typically, and like trick or treating. So there'll be free pumpkins for kids to decorate, and then most of the vendors have candy for the kids to get to.
Nice, nice. Okay. With that, I would ask if there's any other business to come before this committee. Not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will adjourn and start our board meeting at 6 p.m. So we have a break. All right. I will call the regular village board meeting to order on Tuesday, August 19th, 2025 at 6 p.m. I would ask that Brandy and Reese note roll call, and I would ask Rebecca to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I would just like to announce to people who are online that we are having technical issues, and so our cameras aren't working to show the members of the village board or staff. But you will be able to hear us and you'll be able to see all the documents. So bear with us. I would, I don't think have any other announcements unless you do, Bill. Okay, then we will move on to the consent agenda. And
Move to approve.
do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. We don't have any public appearances that I'm aware of. Are you aware of any? All right. Um, with that, we will move on to presentations. And we're excited to have our water rate study back after a lot of years. So
Yeah.
Carol, and you have two people from CLA here.
Yeah, so I'll just give you a quick recap of how we got to where we are here tonight. As you said, it has been several years. I think 2017 was the last time we had a full water rate study done. We have done, I believe, some simplified increases since that time, but when we attempted to do a simplified rate increase last fall, we were denied because of the fact that in 2024, we were notified we are now an AB class utility instead of a C class utility, which means we now have more than 4,000 meters. So because we are now at that higher level, they have some stricter requirements. And one of the things that the PSC told us is you can't get a simplified rate increase if you haven't had a full rate study done within the last 5 years. So last fall, when that rate increase was denied, you directed me to go out and get bids and hire someone to do our full rate study for us. CLA won that bid, so they have completed their study and are here tonight to present their findings. So with that, I'll turn it over to Amber.
Excellent, thank you. And I see you have it up on the screen. So I am gonna follow your lead unless you want one of us to share our screen, if that's okay, or we can go off of this piece.
Yeah, that's fine, Amber. We'll
If you
forward
scroll
the
through.
slides as you tell us to.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. So I think if you go to the first slide, we'll just do some introductions. So my name is Amber Jaruski. I have been with Schenck or CLA for about 16 years, doing exclusively state and local government, working on audits, municipalities, rate cases across the board, and doing other various consultings. So just wanted to introduce ourselves. I'm going to have Riley introduce himself as well.
Yeah, so my name is Riley Hutter. I'm a manager with CLA. I've have about 7 to 8 years of experience, again, in exclusively state and local government. I do audits, compilations, reviews, rate studies, such as this, and any other consulting. I'm a UW Milwaukee grad, and again, I guess some of my hobbies are spending time outdoors, softball, golf, any sports. So.
Excellent. And then we'll continue with their agenda. So what we're going to walk through here is just a little bit of a background, the rate case process, talk about the rate of return, capital projects, your impact fees, the rate impact, projected revenue, cash balance, trend analysis, and a rate comparison that we did, and then go through any questions. So we'll get started here. Carol already kind of alluded to the process of what happened. So what we did is data was provided by the village, and we used the Public Service Commission's macro worksheet and did some analysis and used the data provided to complete that and submitted the application to the PSC prior to the July 31st deadline for the 2025 test year. Part of the process, we do a request for data. We assemble all of that information. We enter it into that workbook that I mentioned, and then we go through and do some analysis in terms of what is the utility looking to do from a budget standpoint going forward? What are some trends from the past? And then what are some capital, go through some of the capital needs or future projects. And then the utility also does have impact fees. So there's some unique circumstances surrounding that. So we went through and analyzed that, posed some questions to the utilities, and then compiled that information. It was all submitted. The PSC will now follow up with some data requests. We will go back and forth on that. We will be alongside the utilities, the village for that process as well. And then the PSC will set the rate structure and go through a public hearing and then implement the rates on the back end. Usually from the public hearing, the final decision will come within 45 days. The PSC has a statutory requirement to complete rate cases within about 200 days. So usually a minimum. They can be faster. It really is dependent upon how quickly we turn around the data and the information to the PSC. So that's just the general time frame. The rate of return. So the rate of return is the key kind of, I'm going to say, indicator from a health perspective, but it can be a little bit misleading at sometimes, but I'll talk through that for a little bit. So it's a key indicator of results. It's used to have, I'm going to say, build a cushion for the utilities in order to make sure that you can use cash on hand for ongoing maintenance, factor in your capital so that you're able to pay your debt service on any capital that's borrowed, or build a reserve to be able to pay for minor capital and routine projects on a regular basis. So the rate of return that the PSC uses, they use a authorized rate of return within the study. And that's kind of the benchmark for what Carol referenced earlier in terms of maybe why your simplifieds maybe stopped being accepted, but in addition to going to Class AB. So in 2021, the utility had a 5.78 rate of return, 2022, 4.97, 2023, 6.84, and then 6.41 in 2024. If you go to the next slide, I have a little chart with the actual rate of return compared to the authorized rate of return. The authorized rate of return goes back to 2017, and that's 5%. The current authorized rate of return that the PSC is using is initially when we submitted was about 6.3, but it's actually up to, I believe, 6.9. So you can see the change there. But even with this, with the increase in the rate of return, the utility has still performed very well. So that's the benchmark in terms of results of how the utility is done. Any questions on that rate of return piece?
Questions? Okay.
If not, I'll go into the next slide. So the part of what happens with the application is we include all of your projected revenue. So we take any projected growth for residential, commercial, industrial, so forth. Then we take your expenses, project what those are supposed to be in the test year. We factor in normalized cost. Normalized cost would be any well rehabs or any water tower repaintings. And then we also factor in capital projects. So the capital projects have a big impact on what your projected rate increase will be. And there's two pieces to it. Utility financed, that is factored into the rate base. You will recover cash year over year as a result. And cash, I say loosely, because say maybe you don't, say you paint a water tower, costs $300,000. You really didn't generate cash in that year, but that was already factored in. So that cash is that based on the rate base and the rate structure, you're building cash over time to be able to finance those capital projects that are utility financed over time. Developer or customer financed, which would include any projects that are funded with impact fees, are not factored into the rate base. So you are not recovering cash year over year. The utilities are still required to maintain that infrastructure once it's put in or replace it down the road. This is important because your rate base or your increase, it might be, say, hypothetically 8%, but you are very heavily developer funded. Over time, you're not recovering little bits year over year to, say, replace that infrastructure in 40 years from now. Meaning you're going to have to special assess, completely borrow, or the developer will have to, if you're doing another developer project, they may have to contribute to that as well. So that's the downside and really the key difference between the capital projects and the two pieces. It can have a big impact. And it's just something to continue to keep in mind as you balance your capital projects going forward and kind of the direction you want to go, specifically as it relates to water. Okay, so that's the rate base. Obviously, sewer is not regulated, so sewer can be either way. If we go to any questions on that before I go to the next slide?
Rebecca?
Can you give an example of what would be, or is this just a different way of doing the financing, utility finance versus customer finance? Are there differences in what utilities pay for versus what the customer stuff pays for?
Yeah. So typically, like say there's a new subdivision going in, and there may be an agreement that the developer is going to pay for all of the hydrants and the mains that are going to go in and connect to the system in that subdivision. That then becomes developer financed, and you're not going to be able to factor that into your rate base. That's where the decision making comes into play of it might make sense to still have that developer pay it, but there may be instances where maybe the utility finances some of that initial main infrastructure or hydrant infrastructure, and then the developer or the resident still continues to pay for the services that would go in, the services that are not the utility services, that is. So that would probably be the easiest example. Or impact fees. Impact fees kind of, and I'm going to talk about impact fees here in a little bit, or on the next slide. Impact fees, the downside of impact fees is the way that the PSC kind of handles them, in that if you have I'm going to use a number of $1 million. If you have $1 million project that is all funded or supposed to be, say, 70% funded by impact fees, the PSC has you record that full $700,000 as developer financed or customer financed at the time the project happens. You may not collect the full $700,000 over the life. So now not only did you get it in your rate base, you didn't get it in your rate base, now you didn't collect that cash either. So those are some of the examples of how that decision making could have an impact. And there's definitely times where it still pays to do, whether it's the developer or the impact fee portion, but just making sure that you understand the impact on those. Does that kind of answer the question?
Yes, that helped. Thank you.
Anything else?
And special assessments, I should clarify, special assessments would be handled very similar to the impact fees and developer customer finance. Special assessment projects are not considered utility financed. Then if we go to that next slide on the impact fees. So just, I wanted to give kind of a definition of what those impact fees are and what happens. So the impact fees are governed by state statute. The PSC does not have authority over them per se, but they do have requirements in how it is handled from an accounting standpoint and how it's factored into the rate structure. So the impact fees, the intent is to be for projects that add capacity or improved facilities because of new growth and those types of things. Not necessarily just, okay, we have an old street, we want to replace this main. That really wouldn't fit that definition per se. It should be based off of the actual cost or a reasonable estimate. And then it should be reduced by the impact fee calculation of what's going to be passed on to the developer or the resident should be reduced by any grants that you receive or any special assessments, so that you're not double dipping on those. As I mentioned, you should not include any deficiencies in the current systems or for operation and maintenance costs. So you can't just apply that. It really relates to the growth and the future development of the village or the area. Impact fees then, they do accrue interest. They should accrue interest. And in the event that they need to be paid back, interest would have to be applied to that as well. So when we talk about paying back, they should be used within, there's certain criteria for the number of years that they have to be used within, usually about 7 to 8 years. And then if they are not used for the intended purpose, that's laid out in the impact fee study and ordinance, then those would be repaid incrementally as they had been collected with interest included. So this is going to be a big piece, impact fees, and why I included it is because it is a big topic for the PSC, and they like to cover that in their data request, and I wanted to make sure that we explained that process. There's additional state statute information that we can share, or if there's questions on that, but I just wanted to make sure that we gave a description of how that impacts your rates and really how they're handled. Any questions on that?
I think we're good, Amber.
Perfect. Then the next slide. Right now, we are projecting an approximate 8 to 12% increase, and there's a 4% difference in there because of the change in the rate of return. So currently, we're using 6.5. The PSC has told me that they have increased that to 6.9, but it was not in your application that way. So they may still use that 6.9. So I wanted to make sure that we were upfront about that percentage change and what that could have on your impact, your rate impact. So why 8 to 12%? If you think about since 2020 and the level of inflation, the inflation percentage is significantly higher than that 8 to 12. Your rate increase stays down because of that developer, the developer and the impact fee piece of your capital. So that is why that is lower. If you did not have the developer contributed, that percentage likely would be higher. That 8 to 12%, just a disclaimer, the PSC will go through and they will dig through information dating back to your last full conventional rate case and ask questions on that. So that percentage is also still subject to change based off of any changes that they would have in terms of how things were recorded or handled since that point of 2017. And then going into the kind of the projected revenue using that growth, the rate increase. This is where I just did a rough cash flow type situation on the next two slides. So your projected revenue in 2024 was about 1.2, just over 1.2 million. And then the projected 2025 does not have the increase. So that's about 1.3 million. And using a 10.7 or 10.8% increase for 2026 would bring your revenue to about 1.4 million. That's for the metered sales that you would see. Public fire usually increases about the same percentage. There might be a little bit in the cost study. You may have an opportunity to put a little bit more on the public fire versus the general customers, but the difference is not substantial. Typically, it's a couple percent, if that. So that's where I just applied the 10.8% flat across the board to both. If we go to the next slide, we have the cash balance trend. And this slide here really just shows what I did is I went out and I pulled your PSC reports and pulled the balances that were on there, and using the information that we were provided and showing your cash balances. So your operating cash balance in 2024 rose substantially, and the expenses kind of were in line, didn't have as many capital needs. The redemption reserve and impact fees have all stayed pretty steady. So I would anticipate that your operating cash continue to grow, which again, because you're very developer contributed and you have the impact fees, that's not a bad thing, because you need to be able to have that cash available, because your increases are smaller on that on the year to year with the simplified, or with the conventional of only being about that 10-11% range. So in order to overcome inflation and those types of things, it's good to have a little bit of a reserve in that piece. And we all know painting a water tower or main replacements is not a cheap feat. So then on the next slide, I went into a rate comparison, and this comparison is really meant to just look at the fixed in volume for a quarterly customer using an average gallons of 6,000 gallons and not factoring in public fire, because public fire, those can vary in terms of portions on the levy, portion direct build, maybe a combination of both. So this is purely fixed in volume, looking at your current rate, an 8.7% increase and a 10.8% increase, and what that does to your volume and your fixed charge, and then comparing to some other area communities. I did make sure, because you are doing that Class AB change, I included some Class Cs and Class ABs as well. And then just from a proximity, I did have Arlington on there, but they're significantly higher. But the Class Cs, if we look at Monona, Verona, and then your Class ABs of Sun Prairie, Middleton, and Waunakee, the rates are consistent, but then I'll also look at the timing of when the last full rate increase was. DeForest, you were at 2017, Waunakee 2015, Verona 2019, Monona 2021, Middleton 2022. And Sun Prairie was 2021 as well, with just a simplified in 24. So even with a 10.8% increase of putting you more in that $44 range, some of these others are lower just because they have not had a rate increase in a while either as well. So there is a link that I included for the Wisconsin water rate dashboard. The PSC had worked with University of North Carolina to do some comparisons, and if you click on that link and you can kind of play with that a little bit, Carol, I believe it's in the actual PowerPoint that I sent you, and you can share that with the board. But that does factor in public fire. But again, I do have a note here that the rates were last updated in 2020. So just be cautious of that. But it is a tool out there that you can generally see. But I did not want to include it on here just because there's some a little bit of it outdated, but it is a nice kind of analysis that the PSC did have available. And a number of these communities haven't had a rate increase since 2020. So you can kind of see that as well.
We have one question, Rebecca.
Yeah, on that rate comparison, I'm just trying to wrap my head around some of those numbers. For Arlington and Windsor, because those were significantly different, is that because they're so rural and have a lot of farm usage?
It can, and their infrastructure can cost a lot more depending on where they are connecting to or where their points are. So those are kind of outliers, but because of location, I wanted to include them in terms of proximity. But really what we want to look at, I would say, is that Monona, Verona, Waunakee, Middleton, Sun Prairie. It's a little bit more comparable from that piece.
Thank you.
All right, Bill.
Yeah, thank you. The comparison is very helpful. Waunakee hasn't had an increase since 2015. I imagine they are also looking at it increase. So we would be comparable with them when they get hit with, they're going to have to go more than 10%. It's very helpful. It's apples and oranges, like you said. Windsor might have more infrastructure costs because of the smaller customer base.
Yes. Yep.
But
and more utility financed infrastructure at that as well.
But Waunakee, looking at that, 2015, that's 10 years. They haven't looked at that. And I always compare us with Wanakee. We're always catching up to them, but they're in for an increase too. 8 to 12% increase is quite a shock, and people are going to see that, especially the heavy water users. I left a hose on for leaking for 2 days and got a call from our water person saying, "Hey, you got a leak somewhere," and I go, "Yeah, I found the wet spot." So my bill will probably be double, but that's my fault. But it was very helpful. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, and I think that's I think that's the way to kind of look at it as well, in terms of not only the inflation piece that I mentioned before. We've
Correct.
seen inflation of upwards of 20-25% since 2020. And you've done a very nice job of being able to build some cash flow for operation and maintenance and some capital needs, while putting a lot of your significant capital infrastructure on some of the developers and those new users as needed. So that's how you can kind of keep that down. And you're not alone in this. So, and I've told Carol this, the community that I live in, I just did a rate increase for them too. They had not had one in about 10 years as well, and their increase was 9%. And they are very similar to DeForest in terms of the contributed infrastructure within the capital, on the capital side.
And
It's
also
consistent.
our replacement of older mains has been very proactive, and that reflects in our capital costs too.
Yes.
We had one main we were fixing twice a winter because it was breaking, and we replaced that, and that cost has gone down, but there's a capital cost to do that. And I don't know, I think Greg might tell you how many more we have to do, or
And I think I think the utility has done. You probably do have some, but I think the way that you've managed your simplified rate increases as well, being able to do those over time, that also minimizes the impact on the user. That's very responsible, and we recommend that, and the PSC is recommending that, is to making sure that you're doing those simplified increases as you are able to do them, because then your customers are going to see incremental increases, not a sticker shock of 60-70% at once, which both Riley and myself have done rate cases recently and in the past that have those impacts. So it's very, very responsible from that regard.
thank you.
Bill Chang.
Hi, Amber. Bill Chang here. I'm the village administrator. I just want to talk a little bit more about impact fees and special assessments and how they impact this particular rate case. It almost seems like it paints it in a negative light, that we shouldn't have these impact fees or developer infrastructure projects, but we're providing relief here from those costs being paid. And just because they start out as developer funded doesn't necessarily mean they don't shift over to utility funded in the future.
Correct.
For maintenance.
Correct.
So I think as we continue to do simplified rate cases as we move forward, we'll see that balance out. Is that correct, or am I seeing that incorrectly?
Yeah, you are correct. So that is the way that the PSC handles them, and they do, and that's why I wanted to make sure that I explained how they're factored into the rate base, that they're really not factored into the rate base, but through those simplified rate increases over time, and kind of doing some of those being proactive on replacements and so forth, will minimize the impact of kind of that negative piece of the impact fees or the special assessments down the road. So that's where just making sure that you understand the impact of how they're being factored in right now, and then what's going to happen later. That's the big piece. But right now, there's definitely pros to it in terms of, because like you said, you're minimizing that impact on the user right now. If we took your capital that was going to be contributed and put that on, you can assume, and I'm going to throw out a number here, and this is not DeForest number because I don't have that on top of me, but I've seen capital impacts be anywhere from 15 to, you can go all the way up to 60, 70% of an impact on the user. So what you're doing is you're kind of spreading that out over time. The piece that on the impact fees that gets a little scary is the PSC can play hardball with it. And I've talked with Carol about that. So we're kind of like making sure that we have our ducks in a row. And that's just the PSC because they can't govern it because it's state statute, but they can have a significant impact on your rate base. So say that they hypothetically say that you funded something with impact fees and you recorded it as customer financed 8 years ago. And now the PSC comes back and says, no, that didn't meet the definition. Now you have to move that to utility financed. That's where that kind of just making sure that we get that in the right spot and get it in the right spot going forward. And why it's important that why I wanted to put the descriptions in there is so that everybody knew that, because it can have an impact if it's not handled correctly. I'm not saying yours is not handled correctly, but that's the impact it has on one way or the other.
I think the other thing that is important to note, and Bill has talked about this before, Bill Chang, is that it's not just that developers pay for it. When it does flip over to the utility for maintenance, et cetera, the user is paying
Correct.
fees and purchasing water and paying for some of those costs. So they're now contributing to the utility
Correct.
and to the maintenance. So it's not just like we're now flipping the burden. They're part of that process.
Correct. And you've done that then incrementally, even if it hasn't been factored into the original rate base, you're doing that incrementally with those simplified rate increases. Yep.
Okay. Are we through your slide yet?
I think I just had a question slide, a thank you with our contact information. So.
Okay. Well,
Carol, did you have anything to add on that? Any of that?
Nope, I don't have anything further.
Okay. Well, with that, unless Bill Chang has anything else to offer, we appreciate it. We look forward to not having to do another one for a while. But we appreciate the service that you gave us. So thank you.
Excellent. We appreciate the opportunity, and we will, it's gone well so far. So we'll round this out, and we appreciate the work that the village has done.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
We'll move on down. There is no old business. Under new business, discussion and possible action regarding a demand for payment and notice of claim from Dried Up Drainage LLC. The village board may convene into closed session pursuant to section 19.851G of the Wisconsin statutes for purposes of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or it's likely to become involved. We're going to turn to Bill Chang and Al on this one and let them start us.
Yeah, so this item is having to do with a claim against the village, I believe, since it is a claim and we're soliciting advice from our municipal attorney, you can move into closed session if you so deem it.
I'd entertain a motion to move into closed session.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Simpson,
Aye.
trustee Witherspoon,
Aye.
trustee Little,
Aye.
trustee Stefan Hagenham,
Aye.
trustee Langraff,
Aye.
trustee Allen.
Aye.
Thank you. And village president Cahill Wolfgram.
Aye.
All right, so 7-0.
All right, thank you. Item 11, committee, commission and board reports. Update regarding the DeForest Area Library.
Yeah, we talked about the budget. It's pretty well set. We're just waiting on health insurance costs like every year. And once those numbers come in, we'll look good. The teen area, we're gonna have a concept plan so we can present that to potential donors. They like to see what they're gonna get, or applying for grants, they like to see what they're gonna get, and by next month, we should have that. And then Halloween, we're still looking for people to volunteer to sponsor a room. But we're committed to giving it one more year. Thank you.
All right, thank you. DeForest Public Safety Commission.
We extended, Mr. Jeff, I think his first name is Davis, who's opening the pizza place down there where Well House used to be on Main Street. He was given a, conditional temporary, I forget what the word was, alcohol license at our previous meeting. He has since gotten a business loan from Alec, and he has spoken with the fire department. Got his equipment, he's just having a hard time getting it put in, so we extended his license to coincide with his loan from the village until December of this year.
Okay, thank you. DeForest Area Community and Senior Center.
We continue to work on the budget and like the library, we're waiting for numbers on the insurance and that's about it.
Okay. Community Development Authority. We're meeting not this month, but we'll meet again next month.
We did meet though to finalize briefly, we had that short meeting about.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The business loans. So we got all of the money expended, which was awesome for some really good businesses to help them out. So.
Yep, the short meeting was simply to approve the contract that we were going to use. We had already reported on having spent the money and I agree, it's good to get it out there. Planning and Zoning Commission.
So in our July meeting, we had a discussion with Meeks Automotive for conditional use. That ultimately was approved so they can have some automotives down in industrial area. Cornerstone Community Center brought in a site plan for their parking lot remodel. And that was also approved, and we discussed the major site plan designation that we talked at the village board last meeting. That's all I had written down.
Okay. All right, Public Services Committee.
We did not have a meeting this month. That would have been last night. But last month, we had our meeting on Monday, July 21st. And that was during the parks input session at the Dale Jenkins Park. And that went really well. We felt we had good community turnout and a lot of good input.
All right. DeForest Windsor Fire and EMS District. We have been working on the budget and we have been working on, and you've seen some of the results of it. We are very pleased that things are looking better with revenue coming in, and our new company or the company that bought Image Trends seems to have a much better handle on invoicing and billing. So we're pleased with that. And then you saw the information from Chief LeFever on the design of the second station before. So we've been also looking at that. So it's a busy time at the fire department, but I think it's busy everywhere. All right, guys, what's going on? Please. All right. Committee, commission, and board minutes are in your packet. The only thing that I will report, and I will have a copy sent to all of you regarding this, the DeForest Handy Helpers 4-H Club has invited everyone to their 70th anniversary this year, and they're hosting an open house as part of the festivities on Sunday, October 12th in Arlington, and they will have a lot of things like a petting zoo and crafts and memorabilia from the past and photos and memories and refreshments. So they're inviting everyone. So I will hand this to Brandy and ask her to get a copy to the full board. Other than that, I don't have anything from DCCVA or the league unless you do, Bill.
I believe there's a DCCVA meeting coming up in person. That's gonna be at the Village Hall at Windsor. So opportunity, I think, for our folks here to attend that. And I think that's it.
Okay. All right, and with that, I will note that the next meeting will not be on September 16th because of the election. So I think, Callie, we're doing it 2 days later,
Thursday.
18th, okay.
It's usually- Yeah, that-
So it'll be Thursday, the 18th of September. We should do a motion on that. Okay, well, we can do that.
I would move to change the meeting date to the 18th.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. All right, any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Is that real or are you just doing that? I thought I said it, but. All right.
I saw your look like, no, no.
All the motion passes. All right. Any other business to come before the board? If not, we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Just pick one.
Pick us both.
All right, good. We have a motion and a second. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned at 7:15 PM.